Hello Internet, and welcome to a new tutorial. So this is VCVRack. If you don't know what VCVRack is, it's a virtual Eurorack system that you have as a standalone DAW, which is completely free. By the way, it's considered as a DAW, or as a plugin that you can have in your main DAW, and it brings you all the awesomeness of Eurorack systems to your DAW. And it has this huge amount of free modules that you can choose from, which, in my opinion, are its biggest strength, yet it's a huge flaw. Because here's the thing. I personally get overwhelmed every time I open up VCVRack and I need to create this new patch or or even a template if I'm using a template. And every time I want to modify it a little bit, I'm just overwhelmed with the choice of modules that I can choose from. And the thing is, at a certain point, I'll spend more time reading manuals and going through huge lists of modules than actually making music, right? So with time, I've just stopped using VCVRack because of this main flaw and basically stick to my usual synthesizers. I mean, I know them by heart, so why bother, right? And not that long ago, I was visiting a friend of mine. He's a huge Eurorack nerd and has like this big system. And while I was playing with it, I figured, okay, this might be the answer to my problem with VCVRack. See, with my friend's system, or any Eurorack system, you can't swap modules by just right-clicking and searching in a huge list of modules, what modules you want, and then you will just plug it in, right? Like, you need to make space for a new module, you need to sell your own modules to buy new ones, and you get the point. It's just a huge process, and you have to be sure about the modules that you want to buy, because you're eventually investing a lot of money and a lot of time, and you might sell one of your beloved modules just because you want to buy this new module. So I thought, okay, how about I bring this to VCVRack, and eventually this might solve my problem. So what I did in here, I built this template of 4 lanes of 110 HPs. I know 110 HP isn't that usual of a number, but you know what? I thought to myself, this is VCVRack, so why not? And the thing is, just like a real system, if you want to change modules, you're limited to these 110 HPs, so you have to think it through, make space for new modules, and yeah, really know why you're changing these modules. And I've tried my best to cover all of your sound design needs and the system in order to, first of all, be able to create anything you have in mind and like having a really flexible system. And second of all, to use this system as a medium to learn Eurorack and all of these crazy concepts behind, basically Eurorack and modular sound design generation or modular music, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, without further ado, this is system version 1. We'll probably have a lot of versions of the system, but yeah, this is version number 1. Basically, each lane has a specific job to do. The first lane has audio and MIDI utilities. The second lane has audio generation. As you can see, we have like 3 oscillators and a noise source in here, and audio filtering. Then the third lane is basically everything modulation. So you have a couple of envelopes in here, an LFO, some sort of a complex envelope, rampage. I'll go in details about these modules in future videos. By the way, I already did videos about the Instro Seashell and the Terraform in here. So if you want to watch that, I'll leave links right in here. And the fourth lane is basically effects. We have a granular, huge effect, supercell. It needs a tutorial on its own. There's a phaser, reverb, ring mod, delay, and a distortion unit. How about we make some sounds with it real quick and see what we can do with it? And by the way, this system is going to be available for everyone, so you can download it and actually start making patch with it and just like start experiencing with it. I'll leave a link for that down in the description. So anyways, with that said, let's make some noise with it, right? So I thought to myself, let's go simple with the first example, right? So what I'm going to do, here we have the instro C shell. I'll send the output of the first oscillator, the sine wave, to our VCA in here, right? And I'll control it with the gate from the DAW. So we have this now. So it's a little bit clicky. So what I'm going to do is I'll send the gate in here to gate one of the two envelopes. I'll send the output of the envelope to our main VCA. I'll put the oscillator back in our VCA. And now we have really fast attack, a little bit of release. Now we have this. Less clicky. That's perfect. So now what I'll do, I'll modulate the pitch of the first oscillator in here with a random modulator. So in here we have a utility module, right? And it has a sample and hold module. Basically, it's 3 modules inside of one. So what I'll do, I'll trigger the sample and hold with the MIDI coming from the DAW, and I'll send its output to modulate the pitch of this oscillator. So now we have like a basic sample and hold modulating a sine wave kind of thing. Okay, it's modulating way too much, so what I'll do, I'll send the sample and hold output to a VCA in here, and the VCA, we can use it as some sort of a dry and wet knob, right? So I'll send the output of this VCA to the 1 volt per octave input of the oscillator, and now we have this. It's modulating a little bit less, right? And what I'll do now, I'll modulate the first oscillator with the second oscillator. We have an FM knob in here, so I'll do this so. Awesome, right? Now, let's play with the pitch of this oscillator. Crazy, right? So what we can do is we have basically several options in here. The easiest one is to just take this random modulator in here. It's basically a sample and hold output, and we'll take it, set it to the 1 volt per octave input of the second oscillator in here, and gate it with the main gate input from the DAW basically. And now let's right click on this module in here and set the range in here from, it's set from 0 to 5 volts. Let's set it to plus and minus 5 volts. So it's bipolar basically. And now we have this. Crazy, right? Now let's push things a little bit further. What I'll do, I'll take the output of our VCA and I'll send it to the res comp. It's basically a comp filter, and the output of the comp filter will go to the main output basically. So let's do just like this, and now we have this. So what I can do in here is modulate the volt per octave input of the comp filter with a random modulator too. So I'll just do so. I'll use the same random modulator as the first oscillator in here. So now we have this. We're getting some crazy results in here, but I think we can spice it up a little bit more. And you know how? We'll just use this delay in here. So I'll take the output of the comp filter, I'll send it to the delay, just like so, and the delay will go to the main output. So if I'll turn down the mix knob and the feedback, now we'll get this. Let's set the delay to something fast. Pretty cool, right? And now with the kick and bass we have this. So what we can do in here is basically we can modulate the time of this delay with either a random modulator or something else. I'll keep it simple and I'll use the random modulator in here. So what I'll do is I wanted to modulate unipolar, right? And this outputs a bipolar signal. So what we can do is use the dual attenuverter in here, right? So if I'll take the output of the second sample and hold module in here, send it to the attenuverter in here, and I'll send the output first of all to the scope. I've wanted to add a scope just so we can see what we're doing. I'll crank it all the way to the right, so now we can see basically the output. Let's turn down the mix. So now we can see the output in here, and let's offset it to be only bipolar. I'll offset it by 5 volts. So check this out. Now we have a unipolar output from our bipolar output. Perfect. I'll send it to modulate both left and right channels, just like so. And the thing with the attenuverter in here is that this knob will act now as a dry and wet knob basically for us. So again, let's give it some volume and let's modulate. You know what? I'll just crank it all the way up and I'll control how much we're modulating with this knob in here. So now we have this. Okay, that was too much. Let's set it back to maybe 40%, just like so. Give it some more modulation. Now we have this. Crazy results. And maybe we can actually make it even crazier and send these to the phaser in here. And the phaser's output will go to the main output, right? And now what we can do is, give it some phaser. Okay, we're starting to get like really crazy results, right? Let's just play a little bit with the sharpness in the center of this phaser. We can modulate the mix of this phaser with maybe this LFO, right? So what we can do is take the output of this LFO, set it to mod number 1 in here. By the way, these Surge XT modules are awesome. And this one, I'll set it to a square wave, right? And I'll make it modulate the mix. So now it's going to pulse. You can see the modulation already going on, just like so. Oh. And we can actually set this LFO to, we can offset it to be only unipolar by this offset knob in here. So I'll just offset it. And now let's set it to a slower rate and check this out. Crazy bleeps and blobs, right? And with the kick and bass, we have this. I think we can do exactly the same thing with the with this LFO in here, but I'll send like the output of the fourth LFO, which isn't at the same phase as the first LFO. And what it's going to do, it'll just modulate the dry and wet knob of the delay. So now we have this. Let's just give it a classic 118 dotted delay. And now we have this. And this is just a glimpse of the craziness that we can do with these kind of systems. And this is really the thing that I want to revive, because it's been a while. You know, I didn't go as wild sound designing just because, as I said, I've stopped using VCVRack for, you know, the reasons I mentioned at the beginning of this tutorial. So yeah, this system is going to be available for everyone. You can download it and go have fun with it. And yeah, please show me what you will do with it. And maybe if there's enough people interested, we can create a some sort of a community patch bank that is made by for this, you know, system by me and you, and it'll be available for everyone. I think it could be awesome, you know, having something like this. So yeah, go download it and have a lot of fun with it. As I said, don't forget to show me what you do with it. And yeah, with this is the end of this tutorial. I really hope you've liked it. I really hope you've learned something new. And if you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a Patreon or buy my presets on Gumroad, or just leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Things like that helps the channel a lot. And see you next time.